Thunder take Game 2 of the Western Conference Finals, 122-113 the final. They bounce back in a big way after the disappointing double overtime loss to begin this series, along with Josh Calloway and Cameron Johnson. I am Colby Daniels. Guys, I thought after Game 1, the big takeaway was San Antonio came in, set the tone for this series. They were more physical, more aggressive over the course of the entirety of game number 1. I thought that completely flipped tonight, and the Thunder, I think, settled into the role that they play most often in their competition against every other team in the NBA, which is to be the aggressor. It paid off, and ultimately they even this series as they get ready to head to San Antonio for Game 3 on Friday night.
They came out looking much sharper, in my opinion, compared to Game 1. And obviously it's a big deal to, like you said, set the tone and come out, strike first. You know, San Antonio was right there with them. But this, to me, felt like a more confident group, whereas the first game, it was like they were doing well, but they weren't quite at their peak yet. So this was a much better look out of the Thunder tonight.
Yeah, no, it looked different basically immediately, I thought, tonight. And, as Shea comes out, hits a couple shots early, and it was like, ooh, that looks more like the guy we're used to seeing. He joked about it post-game that the layoffs, he said, I just suck in Game 1s after a layoff, basically. I gotta fix that, but nothing I can do about it now. He looked a lot better tonight. They decided to keep the lineup the same, which we talked about that in the pregame. Like, would they tweak the lineup, try to get to a better start, get away from Isaiah Hartenstein? Mark Daigneault decides to keep him, and that worked great. That ended up being the right move. Isaiah Hartenstein was great. I'm sure we'll talk about him more. But, yeah, got up to a much better start and just kind of looked much more buttoned up, and you got much better performances from SGA and a bunch of other guys as well to get this thing done.
Yeah, Mark stuck with his guy. Well, everybody basically in the free world said, it's time to take Isaiah Hartenstein out of the starting lineup.
That's why he's an NBA championship
right.
winning
That's
coach.
Why he's a championship winning coach and has the best playoff winning percentage of all time. And we're doing this. But, that was a great move, obviously, on his part. I thought just the team overall looked a lot more confident. I think from a body language standpoint, first and foremost, there were multiple times in Game 1 where I thought the body language didn't exude confidence, but also I think from a game plan standpoint, they were attacking the paint. They were getting mid-range shots early in the first quarter. It felt like they were avoiding those shots in game number 1, and there were a lot of kickouts. And I think Shaven mentioned in the postgame, like he said, we were still getting good looks in game number 1, but it wasn't an aggressive attack necessarily like it was tonight. And, I think that was a big part of them setting the tone for Game 2. Defensively, I know Wemby had the monster game in Game 1, but 101 points in regulation against San Antonio in Game 1 should be enough on most nights. Offense was the biggest issue, and the lack of aggression on offense was a massive issue in Game 1. Again, just the initial focus, I think, on being more aggressive, getting to their spots, inside the three-point line. I don't think they took a three until midway through the first quarter, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a while, but I think that paid off, and again, I think it just kind of put the team into a lane that they're used to being in terms of, how you're going to attack.
You talk about setting the tone. There's setting the tone against your opponent, letting them know how it's going to go. But I think it was also a big deal for OKC as a team to come out that way and tell themselves, okay, this is what we're going to do. If we can just get this locked down, that's going to open up some opportunities from further out later on. But the emphasis on doing that so early, coming out aggressive after, like you said, kind of one of those games where it didn't fully feel like the players were totally into it. So I think that was key to the result tonight.
Yeah, you noticed something that I noted as well. 4, 5, 6 minutes in before they even attempted a three.
Yeah.
And that we talked about that. That was huge coming out of the first game where it was just settling for a lot of threes, not willing to go tack the paint, just terrified of Wemby and just trying to stay away from him. We're like, that doesn't really work. And they got better later in that first game, but to come right at the gate, getting right down into the lane, and Shea was getting to his spots, and just that was nice. That they were off to a good start, and it was 5 minutes in. It was like, look, they haven't even attempted a three. Like, they're doing what we wanted, and getting to it much quicker this time, and that stuck out to me for sure.
Shea was obviously much sharper in terms of the plays that we see him make on a regular basis tonight versus Game 1. There were 3, 4, 5 maybe shots that in Game 1 are wide open that you just kind of assume that Shea's going to make every single time he has those, and those didn't go down. He made some tough ones tonight, but he got all the gimmies. I mean, any shot that was uncontested inside the three-point line, I think he dropped. So he got going, found a rhythm early. And, again, Castle was very physical with him all night long.
Really physical, yeah.
And, didn't necessarily have a whistle that was preventing that from happening. And I thought Shea had probably the best body language in terms of somebody playing physical on him that he's had all playoffs. He handled it well, 9 assists also, efficiently, 12 of 24 from the floor, 50% from the floor against a physical defense like that. He only had 6 more points than game 1, but you feel like the effectiveness overall was night and day.
Yeah, a different kind of feeling when you look at that box score. I thought not only did he get the give-me's, he also was a part of some key momentum shifters for the Thunder. And I also thought he did a good job of getting some other players kind of fired up. This was, as I'm sure we'll talk about, another not so great performance for Chet Holmgren. But I thought in that, I think it was in the third quarter or the fourth quarter, when it was a Chet dunk and Shea just passed it off. It was one of those bang bang plays. I thought that was kind of a play that Chet needed to get fired up. I'll be curious to see where he picks up in the next game. But I think he did kind of get a little bit better because Shea forced that pace on him, and so it was interesting to see the impact he had on his teammates.
Yeah, no, I agree totally. Shea was a lot better. I mean, and we knew he would be. The confidence that he was going to bounce back was really high coming into this game. And he was much better right from the get-go, getting to his spots, and a couple of those middies drop, and you can tell already, oh, he looks like SGA again, and so he was awesome in this game, and had a couple of big shots late in the game. Had that 3 where he told Jerry McCain, hey, don't talk to me when I'm taking a jumper.
I think he said calm.
He said
down.
calm down. He joked about it post-game, saying he was calling for the ball while I was shooting. He's like, hey man, I was shooting here.
Yeah.
He said they worked it out. They're all good, but yeah, he just looked like he was very relaxed and kind of cheesy, having fun. I thought he was having fun, and he looked like he was playing, SGA basketball that we're used to seeing all the time.
He had the step back shot with 42 seconds that essentially sealed the game, and
he had the one where he just shattered Carter Bryant.
Yeah,
he didn't know where he was.
Absolutely.
He did a full 360. He didn't know where he was.
He
was awesome.
was on one tonight, and we kind of expected after a game 1 performance like we saw that the MVP of the NBA was going to bounce back in a big way. He certainly did that. There was a lot of conversation after game 1. The Thunder lost, double overtime, and you get this incredible performance out of Alex Caruso. How many times can you get a performance where Caruso is going to score 31 points? Which is true. He's not a scorer necessarily. You'll have to settle for 17 tonight.
It's a loud 17.
Which is still a very loud 17. And a lot of those came in critical moments of the game. He's just such a big moment riser, right? He just finds ways to impact the game, especially when the stakes are at their greatest. I think I said to you guys at one point, watching this game, I wish there was a way to completely quantify the impact he makes in a game on a stat sheet, because that's what we do, right?
Yeah.
We talk about points and field goal percentage and block shots or assists or rebounds, and everything's kind of broken down into what ends up on a box score. We even plus minus, right? We have advanced stats, points per 100 possession. There's not really a way to quantify the impact that Alex Caruso has, the timing of big plays, the just hit touching a pass that ultimately, ends up somebody else gets the steal, but it kind of just throws the offense off, diving for loose balls, saving, a ball that's going out of bounds, throwing it off Wemby like we saw in game 1. He is just at his best when every possession means the world, like it did tonight and like it did in game 1, and he just finds ways to outwork everybody out there, and he just seems willing to go a little bit further than anyone else on the court. And 17 points is monster, but his impact again can't be felt necessarily just from those 17 points.
He's such a spark plug when he comes in from off the bench. Obviously you see it in the stat sheet what he does, but when he comes in, he plays like a madman, on both defense and offense. He'll go up and give Wemby a run for his money, and I think bringing that kind of energy to the team on the floor is crucial in getting everyone else to be if they're lacking at any time, they see him play and they're like, oh, okay, let's go. But obviously, he was 5 of 7 on the floor, shooting 3 of 4 from 3. It doesn't get much better than that, and he is just providing in all the different areas.
Yeah, he's a complete psychopath, and it's awesome. It's incredible to watch. We were joking about it. About 4 minutes in, he starts doing his old man YMCA stretches to get ready to come in. He's just 100% effort and full hustle all the time, and is so much fun to watch, and there's no doubt that it rubs off on the other guys, which is something you talk about. Like, you can't really quantify that, but he does, and he's just makes the right play all the time, whether it's, slipping the pass underneath. I can't remember who was actually 2 under the basket, but he found him perfectly. It might have been Casey Wallace. I can't remember. It doesn't matter. It was a great pass under the basket. The defense on Wemby, the threes, which he continues to make at a pretty high clip.
Yeah.
Which, if you remember last year during the season, he wasn't shooting threes very well, and it was like, hopefully that comes around, and it did last year in the playoffs, and he's doing it again. He's just in the role player Hall of Fame. Like, he's perfect for his role. He comes in, he gives you a ton of energy. He's been amazing. Just a great pickup by Sam Presti 2 years ago, and it just continues to pay off. He's been awesome.
You say role player Hall of Fame. You know how many tweets I saw tonight with like somebody photoshopping his retired number next to Nick Collison up there, which would be absolutely fitting, right? I mean, Nick Collison was a guy that did things the right way. That's why his number is up there. Role player, just all the reasons that you want somebody on your roster, and that's what Alex Caruso also embodies. Obviously, he's done it at a very high clip, winning 2 championships, one here, one in Los Angeles, but he impacts winning. That's probably, what I say, I wish there was a stat to quantify his impact. It's the 2 championship rings are probably what quantifies his impact. Because they don't win the championship last year without him, and clearly they're on their way to potentially doing it again, but he's obviously been a big part of what they've done so far in this playoff run, and he leaves his fingerprints all over every single game. Isaiah Hartenstein, big topic of conversation. We discussed it in the pregame.
Yep.
Can you play him extended minutes in this series? Do you even start him? Like, do you have to just mix and match his court time with like Luke Cornett when Wemby's off the floor because of spacing issues, which Mark Daigneault even talked about in the postgame. He said, yeah, there are spacing issues, but there's ways around it also. He was fantastic. His physicality, obviously, I think contributes to OKC playing a more physical brand of basketball tonight, but they were destroyed on the glass in game 1. I thought a big part of they lost the rebound battle tonight, 45-41, which is not a giant margin. He had 13 rebounds, 8 offensive boards, but I thought just his physicality underneath the rim played a big role in OKC not getting mowed down on the glass.
In general, I thought this was a performance where a lot of the players who struggled in game 1 looked a lot better and made up for it and clearly came out with a point to prove. Isaiah Hartenstein is like the prime example of that. I mean, it felt like every rebound, whether it was on the offensive end or defensive end, he was there and he was knocking down some key shots and just a crucial piece of the Thunder's success tonight. And I think that's the perfect way to come back from the doubters or answer the doubters out there. And it'll be fun to see what he does in this next game as well.
Yeah, the hardest earned double-double just ever. I mean, he's going to sleep incredible tonight, I would imagine, because he just, kind of like Caruso, like just full effort the whole time he was in there, just battling Wemby all night long. He beat him up. Like, it was a physical, and that was the strategy. They give you 6 fouls, like that kind of cliche. Like, he used 4 of them in the first half, managed to stay in the game and still obviously play big minutes tonight. And yeah, he was a huge part of it. And look, I was in that camp coming out of the first game of like, probably take him out of the lineup. I don't know how much you can play him. This just doesn't seem to be the right matchup for him. And Mark Daigneault went the complete other way and leaned into it and was like, we're going to leave you in there. You're going to guard Wemby, and we're going to see how that goes. Yeah. And it was totally the right move. Curious to see now the adjustment the other way by the Spurs going into game 3, if they can try to figure something out there. But he did as good of a job as you could really hope for on Wemby. He was just, just bodied him all night long, just going to be rough with them. Yeah. And they're not going to call it every time, sort of a strategy. And it worked out for the most. I mean, they won the game, obviously, and he played great.
Yeah, I mean, Wemby said after game 1 that he was worn out.
Yeah.
And, they had that 6-game series with Minnesota. Pretty decent turnaround, for this series, double overtime game 1. I thought that San Antonio looked much more tired down the stretch of this game than OKC did, and Wemby specifically.
Yeah,
I thought
he was settling for a lot of threes.
Yeah, multiple instances. I mean, just looked like the legs were gone. Part of that is obviously the just workload leading up to today, but Isaiah Hartenstein leaning on him, I think, played a big role there as well. And to go from 41 and 24 and people calling it one of the greatest postseason performances of all time to 21 and 17. I mean, clearly that is a giant win for OKC compared to what he did in Game 1. And, I'm curious if that's going to have an impact as the series goes on also. Maybe it will, maybe it won't, but Isaiah Hartenstein leaning on you is going to be much more wearing than, Alex Caruso, doing everything he can to defend a 7'6" guy and sometimes doing it successfully, but that's not going to be as physically taxing on Wemby as what, the type of defense, I guess, that Hart will play.
We talked about this in the pregame show about how the San Antonio team has done great things, but they are a young team that has not been here before. And I like you, I can't help but wonder if, them going so long in their previous series and then coming off an emotional win where you go to double overtime and Wemby has the performance he does, at some point, if you haven't dealt with it before, this might be something new, just working through the fatigue and the aftermath of that. I think a guy like SGA has kind of gotten a feel for handling big performances like that. So, yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm curious to see how that pays off or plays out down the stretch.
Yeah, and shout out Ihart too, the fact that, he plays 12 minutes in the first game. He's a guy that is, a big-time NBA player. Like, he was a highly sought free agent. He's a starter on a championship team. Some guys wouldn't handle that well, and he came back after Game 1 and basically told Coach Dagnall, like, I obviously want to play more. No. What do you need me to do? And Mark told him, this is what I need, and he gave it to him, and he played great tonight. And so I'm definitely curious the fatigue thing as well, as far as just you talk about it, like every other day. This series does not really have any extended breaks in it. I mean, they're going to play again on Friday and then Sunday. Like, can Wemby, I mean, there's something to be said about a full 82-game season. I know he missed some games, obviously, over the course of the year. But in the playoffs and the grind of it, it's hard to go deep in this thing, and that could be a factor as we go along.
Well, and, I think a lot of people liked the Thunder side of this series going into it because the Thunder have playoff experience, right? Like, their experience was going to carry them through a matchup that, is obviously the Spurs are strong in all the areas that OKC usually is able to exploit other teams in. So you're not able to, have the same advantages over San Antonio that you normally do over everybody else. So you're going to have to look for new ways, but you do have this massive edge in terms of just having been through this before, knowing what it's like, knowing how deep you have to dig on a nightly basis, knowing what the mental side of this draining postseason run is. I was talking to a friend yesterday, and he was like, I think Spurs are going to win. And he originally picked OKC to win because of playoff experience. He switched his pick, and I'm like, how can you your reasoning is still valid, and it's not going to show itself in game number one. Like, if you think OKC's experience is the difference in the series, that's probably going to start showing itself as the series goes on. So, like, it's an overreaction if you think that is a part of the series. You may not, but it's an overreaction if you're going to abandon that after one game because you haven't played enough games for that part of the series to really kick in.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned this the other night, but I said before the series started I wouldn't be surprised if San Antonio came in and stole a game one just because of the hype around this series. They do that, but then there's kind of, like I said already, the emotional toll of, you said it, you got what you needed to, and coming in, taking at least one of these games, you're going to go back to San Antonio with a game under your belt.
Home court advantage
now
for the rest of the
series. And then all of a sudden they get maybe a little too comfortable. I don't think too comfortable was the issue tonight. I just think the Thunder came out and had a lot to avenge after that first game, and it showed.
Yeah, I'm curious as it goes on, because we probably don't talk enough about San Antonio. Obviously, it gets talked about all the time. Super young team, right? And Wemby and Castle and Harper, these guys are all, they're 22 and younger. Like, they're super young. Young coach, too. Mitch Johnson has not done this. Mark Dagnall obviously has. The ability to adjust and adapt over the course of a series, we know Mark Dagnall can do it. We saw it already, game 1 to 2. Can Mitch Johnson do that over the course of a series? Because the Spurs have not played a series yet where, the first 2 rounds, Portland had no chance, and Minnesota clearly was a rung below them as well. Whenever they were at full strength with Wemby, it really wasn't a fair fight. Can they adapt and make the tweaks? Not saying they can't, we just don't know. They haven't had to do it, and so we'll see if they're able to do that and make those necessary adjustments, as we go along.
Yeah. Let's hit Chet Holmgren before we hit some of these bench players. The criticism was...
Took a lot.
everywhere over the last 48 hours for Chet, given, again, the outstanding performance from Wemby in Game 1, the lack of maybe a big impact in the box score from Chet after Game 1. The box score wasn't significantly better tonight. I think there were still times where I thought, like, there were San Antonio guards that were playing more physical than he was. He did, I think, at least close the game in a positive way. Had a couple of big moments down the stretch, but I just kind of feel like he just hasn't found his footing in this matchup, and I don't know how much of that is like the Wemby thing, and if that's playing a factor, and he just doesn't feel comfortable, or I don't know what it is. Maybe there's an intimidation factor, but he doesn't look like the same guy that we saw in the first 2 rounds, and I think we talked about him being aggressive and decisive, and at times we've seen that this postseason. I feel like that's almost, especially the decisiveness, has almost gone out the window through these first 2 games. Now, it could completely turn around against San Antonio, but he just, I feel like, gives me the impression that he's overthinking everything.
I would agree with you 100%. It is, in my mind, a confidence issue, especially when you look back on his minutes against San Antonio in both the postseason and the regular season. He really didn't ever do that well, or he never played to his full potential. And then you factor in this whole Wemby thing. I do really think he's mentally in a slump. I mean, there was that instance in the first half where he was almost wide open for a 3, and then he hesitates and he takes it inside. And I forget what happened after that, but it was just one of those instances where it's like he is not fully confident in himself the way we saw him in that series against the Lakers.
Yeah, no, for sure. Better than the first game, but
sure.
still not good or good enough, obviously.
Well, not to even just the standard that he's set through this postseason.
Yeah,
for sure.
the guy that we know is in there.
Yeah.
And it's not like we're asking him something we haven't seen him do.
Right.
We're looking for just the guy that we saw in the first 2 rounds.
Yeah.
Which, again, he played really well. So maybe you're not going to do that as the competition gets better. But obviously it hasn't been anywhere close to what we're used to seeing over the course of the season or the playoffs so far. Yeah, I mean, he had that little stretch where he had the dunk, and he, showed some emotion, which was nice. Hit a big 3 where he did not hesitate. He got the ball and put it up, and he hit it. I mean, he's a good shooter. Like, he shouldn't. If he has room, let it rip, man. Let it fly. So we'll see. Baby steps was a little better. Maybe it's a little better in Game 3. I don't know. Or maybe the road hurts him. Maybe that helps in some ways.
Yeah.
Some guys are. Sometimes it helps to get away from the home fans, kind of all, the moans and groans whenever you do something silly. Sometimes that helps. So we'll see. So better than Game 1, but still not where it needs to be.
Yeah. Bench was fantastic tonight. Jared McCain kind of was channeling Alex Caruso at times, diving for loose balls.
He was
everywhere. Jared McCain had 2 steals. I mean, when they acquired Jared McCain, I think the conversation was great offensive player, may not have the defensive chops to compete with this team, at least this year in the postseason. And say what you want about his defense, but the guy is giving everything he has on the defensive end of the floor when he is out there. And I think he knows if he's not doing that, he's probably not going to be playing. So he's giving everything he has defensively. Nobody's been able to completely exploit him, at least on the defensive end. Obviously, he's a spark plug offensively. And at times they needed him to be a ball handler tonight as well. We'll get into the reasoning for that with some of the injuries, but he was great. Queso was phenomenal.
Really good,
an absolute pest.
He was everywhere.
To the San Antonio defense.
Some big threes.
Big threes in this game. He had 12 points, 4 of 6 shooting, all from the three-point line, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals. Again, he was a pest to Stephon Castle. Crazy stat, Stephon Castle has 19 turnovers through the first 2 games of this series. That's the most for a 2-game stretch in NBA history, playoff history.
Yeah, outrageous.
And Queso was a big part of those turnovers. It's not like Castle was just throwing the ball out of bounds. Queso was all over him tonight. And I thought his defense, there was one time where I think it was Vassell, there was an inbounds pass, and he tips it and it goes off Vassel's hand. Turnover. Thunder get the basketball in the fourth quarter.
Backcourt violation just by hounding him on the line.
I mean, he was fantastic. And then AJ Mitchell again wasn't massively impactful in game number 1. And with a dub injury, going back to the Lakers series, now his role expands dramatically because he becomes your next and in a lot of cases probably only other ball handler or generator of offense. And he obviously had to play some important minutes tonight. Just handling the basketball. There were a couple turnovers, but in non-Shea minutes on most nights, you just hope that you're not going to turn it into a landslide. And he's going to play a big role in this series, especially with J-Dub, which we'll hit in just a moment.
We haven't said it yet, all that much yet. The Thunder depth. I just am so impressed by the ability of this bench to come in, step into a playoff game, a game after you lose on your own home court. They step in and they deliver as though they are starters. And I think that is the personality of this OKC team, is the bench has the mindset. Like, this is a whole team of starters. It just depends what order and what formation you're going to see him come in. But Cason Wallace was just, he like iHeart was just everywhere. He was on the end of everything. And then you got Jared McCain, who kind of like Alex Caruso, he comes in and the way the crowd just explodes every time he comes in, I'm sure he feeds off of that too, but it's just like, it's just one punch after another with this OKC bench.
Yeah, I thought Cason Wallace was excellent tonight. Stephon Castle had that insane dunk, which was one of the best dunks I've ever seen in person. Had a little bit of like a whoa, and Cason came out and hit a three down here right after that. Yeah. Just to kind of, that's one of those moments that kind of flip momentum. Got it right back, came and hit a big corner three. I thought he was really, really good. I mean, after SGA and then iHeart, we talked about, Caruso and Cason Wallace are your next two best guys tonight. Both were really, really good. Disappointed by Isaiah Joe. He got into the game. We talked about it. He didn't play at all in the first game, which I thought was really odd. And he played in this game. I hope that they go back to him again, because he did some good things and got some wide open looks that you feel like Isaiah Joe's going to hit. And he did knock him down tonight, but the looks were there.
Yeah.
I hope that they stick with that and they go to that again, because he didn't get any run in the first game. And he just didn't hit the big shot tonight, but he had some moments, so we'll see. But overall, a really good bench performance, obviously, from the Thunder. All those guards, and A.J. Mitchell got banged up as well at the end, so hopefully he's okay, because they're going to need him, especially if J-Dub's out.
I don't know this to be fact. I'm just sharing a rumor that I heard tonight, but I think the A.J. thing might have been cramps.
Well, that would be the best case scenario.
That would be a
For what it's worth, he was out here standing around post game. He wasn't getting treatment or anything. He was just chatting away.
Yeah.
Good sign there, hopefully.
Unfortunately, J-Dub, who I thought was going to be a massive part of them being able to win this series because of his size, physicality, athletic ability, there's not really a great matchup from San Antonio for him. And I felt like, coming into this series, like he's going to be the X factor for OKC to win this thing. San Antonio's going to be very physical. He's the guy that I think, maybe separates OKC from San Antonio. I thought in his first game back, all things considered, he played tremendous in game number one. Leaves after the first quarter, doesn't return. I think they said hamstring tightness.
Tightness was the word, not strain.
Right.
Key
so
word.
Maybe that leaves a little optimism in terms of his ability to come back. I mean, if it's another strain, I just don't see a scenario where he comes back and plays. And we're not diagnosing him, just playing the what if game. But if it's a strain, like I think we would be pretty surprised if he were to play again. Before the NBA Finals is right around the corner, and we're talking about a very short rest of the season, so. That stinks for a guy not only that's dealt with this all season long, but a guy that is so massively important to their success.
Yeah, I would hope it's a precautionary thing, if anything. Like, maybe they told him, if you feel anything, we're getting you out of there because we need to keep you in shape. But it's such a gut punch to go through it not once but twice on both of your legs, of all things. It's just like, just as you get rolling, he comes back and he plays a big role in both those first couple of games of the Phoenix series, and then this one. He clearly makes an impact, and fortunately the Thunder still had the juice to get it done tonight without him, and extend this series a little bit. So hopefully it was precautionary, but I don't know at this point. It's a tough battle.
Yeah, he's been snake bitten this year. It sucks. It sucks for him, obviously, and the Thunder, they need him. He's their second best player. Obviously he was really good in the first game, and I really didn't get to play much in this game, but obviously the impact is obvious. I don't need to explain that to anybody. He had a 40-point game in the finals last year. The guy is an all NBA level player. So we'll see. It was his left, which is what he hurt against Phoenix. Not the one that made him miss most of the season.
Right.
I think that's the better of the two. I don't know. But we'll see. Like you said, tightness. They haven't diagnosed it as a strain yet. That's something, I guess.
Yeah.
But
Mark
we'll
said
see.
in the postgame they would know more tomorrow,
Yeah.
which I doubt that they would share.
Yeah,
we'll
they have
probably-
to do an injury report
an
tomorrow
injury report,
because they play again the next day.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see.
probably find out. If nothing else, we find out from the injury report. I don't think they're going to update us, but
He'll probably be
he's like,
questionable
we'll know
or
something
something like that.
tomorrow, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Can they win the series without him if he doesn't play again?
Can they? I think they can. Am I like insanely
Yeah.
optimistic?
That hurts.
Not necessarily,
Hurts
because
a lot.
I thought he was going to be the X factor in this series.
agree, yeah.
Now, to throw that back, can San Antonio win this series without Dylan Harper? Because that's another massive injury in this series. A guy that I think is on the verge of becoming a superstar in this league. Great on both ends, and especially without De'Aaron Fox. I mean, he's essentially their only other point guard. And Stephon Castle is a tremendous player, but he's not a point guard. We obviously saw that struggling at times to handle the defensive pressure of OKC as the guy that was handling the basketball for San Antonio. It's a different ball game. I think if Harper's out there, he gets hurt at the some point early in the third quarter, doesn't come back. You're already missing De'Aaron Fox, who hasn't played in either of the first two games. I'm curious what their point guard situation is in Game 3.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're missing one, it's obviously an issue. If you're missing both guys, I would say not having a true point guard against this Thunder team is not a good recipe. And I think in that scenario, I mean, the J-Dub injury then is far less significant. But injuries are a big part of the game. Every postseason we see it throughout the league, right? And you just got to be able to survive them. And luckily, that's why OKC has so much depth. San Antonio also has depth, but if you lose both point guards, McLaughlin was playing point guard tonight
Played a
at
lot
times,
tonight, yeah.
and didn't even see the floor in game number 1. So sucks for J-Dub, sucks for Dylan Harper, but can they win the series without J-Dub? I think they can. I think it's a tall task, but if we're also saying San Antonio's without Dylan Harper, I think that completely changes the conversation, and it almost wipes each other out.
Ideally, you want both squads at their healthiest.
100%, yeah.
Because this has been such a great series all season long, and for it to come down to postseason, you want them at their very best. But it does play into the Thunder's favor that the Spurs are also dealing with significant injury. Granted, they did fine without De'Aaron Fox in Game 1, but now that you've got that added one in there, it evens it out a little bit. I think I'm a little more optimistic. I think they could win the series without J-Dub and not struggle as much. I was impressed by what they were able to put together, especially down the stretch tonight and pull away they did. The only thing that had me concerned was with how quickly San Antonio closed that 11-point lead coming out of the second half. But I think they have all the tools to do it. Obviously, you don't want to have to do that, but I think they can.
Role players are typically better at home, and are you going to get the same performance on the road out of
fair.
role players?
Yeah.
Sure.
When
No,
San Antonio
unfortunately-
now has home court advantage in the series.
This is
So,
true.
Injuries, it
Yeah.
happens in the playoffs every year. It's how it goes. A lot of these series, especially this late, the teams are never at full strength. There's always guys that
Right.
are out. We saw it last year with Indiana in the finals. Halliburton goes down in Game 7. I mean, it happens every year, obviously. So you kind of just have to win with who you got, right? I mean, at the end of the day. So we'll see. It's gonna be
it
interesting.
happened to this Thunder team a decade ago, right? I mean, they
Oh,
had
all the
this run
time.
with
They were never healthy.
Kevin
Yeah.
Durant missed a
Yeah.
postseason. Russell
Russ.
Westbrook misses a postseason.
Yeah.
I mean,
Ibaka.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it happens to everybody, and again, that's why you have depth, or that's why you should try to have depth, because you've just got to overcome it. It's an 82-game season, and these postseason games are absolutely grueling. And at least for these first two games of this series, there's a long way to go, but this series is going to be grueling on everybody that is left standing when the dust finally settles.
As long as you have number 2, you feel like you gotta.
Yeah, for sure. All right, series heads to San Antonio. Game 3 on Friday night. Expectations for what we will see.
I envision we'll see something very similar to what we saw here. I imagine that OKC will get a game there, and San Antonio will take advantage of home court advantage as well. So I think this is going to come back still tied at 2 apiece.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it feels like every game is going to be a coin flip, just decided in the fourth quarter, which is what we all hoped it would be. That was the thought that this series could be incredible. So far, it has been incredible. And yeah, I'm expecting another great game on Friday. I don't I don't know who's going to win. It feels like I'd just be guessing. I don't know.
Yeah.
It should be a great game, though. I mean,
Nothing about
every
the
game has been
series
so
is
far.
I know who's
Amazing.
going to win. Guaranteed.
Okay.
NBC.
Basketball fans.
Yeah.
Basketball fans are going
Yeah.
to win because this series is awesome.
been great.
I mean,
It's
through
been
2
great.
games, and look, I know some people will say game 1 stunk because they're Thunder fans and the Thunder lost, but if you take away the outcomes, I mean, we've had 2 highly, incredibly close, back and forth, just slugfest type games. Every time you feel like one team's about to separate, the other team just does enough to claw their way back in. And you know, the scripts were kind of flipped from game 1 to game 2, where it was like the Spurs controlled game 1, Thunder did just enough to kind of stay in it and give themselves a chance, and then you have the double overtime tonight. Thunder controlled the game for the vast majority of tonight, and every time you felt like the Thunder were one play away from maybe separating, San Antonio did just enough
San
to
Antonio
claw
had the
back
ball
in.
down 5 with a minute left.
Yeah.
A chance to cut it to 1
Yeah.
score. They got a little nervous in here.
So yeah, I mean these first 2 games have been exceptional, and basketball fans win by you know this
been
series
awesome.
just continuing on. So game 3 Friday night in San Antonio,
Wonder if they'll
7:30
do the Fiesta
tip-off.
shirts. You think they'll do the Fiesta shirts?
I hope so because I think it looks
Those
awesome.
are
I think it's an
incredible.
awesome look.
It looks awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the best.
It's a great look. I mean, we had the stripes tonight, which is a great look.
I
as
love
well.
the stripes. That might be my favorite. I think the stripes is my favorite.
You think so?
I think I've settled
Okay.
on being my favorite. Yeah.
Even more so than the whiteout?
Yeah, because you kind of get both. It's like
Yeah.
cheating a little bit. You kind of get both.
Yeah.
I love the stripe. It's awesome.
Yeah, but Friday night's going to be big time, and we'll have a lot to talk about over the next couple days. That is Josh Calloway and Cameron Johnson. I am Colby Daniels. Thunder take Game 2 and even the Western Conference Finals at 1 game apiece. We'll see you for Game 3 Friday night.